I'm Gritt Goff from Gritt's Midway greenhouse, and I'm going to talk to you today about selecting plants for your garden or your lawn, your landscape, and how to get a good healthy start. So we're standing here in a house where we grow a lot of vegetable plants. We've got tomato plants and pepper plants, maybe some eggplant, some strawberries. So let's talk a little bit about choosing a healthy plant. This is happens to be a Cherokee purple tomato plant in a 4-inch pot, and when you're in the garden center, if you look, it's got good healthy actually roots coming out the bottom. The leaves are nice and pretty and green. The plant has a nice thick stem, so that's one of the things you would look for, especially if you're buying a single individual plant. This plant already has a flower bud in the top coming in a little cluster right there, and so it will produce quicker than maybe the plants in our flats. There are hundreds of different types of varieties to choose from. Hopefully all the tomato plants are nicely tagged with a label that tells you how it grows. We have the very popular varieties are like Better Boy, Big Boy, Beefsteak, Beef Master. Those are going to give you nice slicing tomatoes. They are also good to can if you want to. There are better types for canning if you want a lot of tomato juice. There's some smaller varieties, smaller tomato with more juice, like a Marglobe, a Rutgers, possibly Celebrity and Champion. And then, of course, if you want a more pasty tomato, the La Roma would give you a thicker type juice or sauce. Besides just regular red tomatoes, we have yellow varieties. Some are golden yellow, some are bright yellow. The yellow tomatoes are a little less acidic. Sometimes they have more sugar content. That's why they taste sweeter. The same with our grape tomatoes and our cherry tomatoes. They have a little bit higher sugar content, so they're going to taste sweeter. So when you come into the garden center at Gritt's, we offer multiple different sizes of tomatoes you can buy. If you just want 2 or 3 tomatoes, or you want to get a head start on your neighbors, we offer these larger 1-gallon tomatoes. Some of them actually have some buds in them ready to open on the Early Girls, which is an early variety. I don't know if you can see that. There's some flower buds getting ready to open. So once you purchase those and get them planted, you'll have earlier tomatoes. Opportunities for like container gardening, if you want to do a real broad garden of containers. You've got your patios full of tomatoes. You can also, we sell a hanging strawberry plant that is developed specifically for baskets, and it'll produce strawberries all summer. Not huge amounts, but certainly enough for breakfast. The hanging strawberry plants are best in full sun. You're gonna make sure you keep them watered or the fruit won't develop. They will get a pretty white or pink flower on it, so they are pretty as well as edible. Once it starts producing, it'll start a little slow and you can get a handful of strawberries. When it's in full production, you could probably get enough for 5 or 6 bowls of cereal, or maybe to top some pancakes, or to mix in a fruit salad. There's not going to be enough from one basket to make some jam or jelly.
And what time of year would that start blooming?
These are actually getting ready to bloom right now, so we usually see strawberries hanging around the 1st of May in the greenhouse, and then it'll keep hanging the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Good. All right. One of the early weather crops that you can plant, and these can go out sometimes in early March, is cabbage. You can do also broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, lettuce. So those are all good. And one trick to planting cabbage, they're always kind of wobbly when they come in. You can bury the stem a little bit deeper than what it is to maybe stabilize it, and it will try to grow off some roots off that area.
Best varieties?
Oh yeah. Cabbage varieties depends on what you want to do with it. We sell small headed varieties like early Jersey cabbage, which is very good for just a very small, very dark green cabbage that you want to maybe chop up in salad or coleslaw. If you're thinking about sauerkraut or something like that, you might want to go with something like a late flat Dutch, where the head gets really large and you can process a lot of cabbage at the same time. So these are our peppers that we're growing for this season, and if you notice, they're a little bit smaller than the rest of the vegetables, and it's because pepper plants are more tender to cold weather. So you should plant those a little later in your garden than you would perhaps your tomatoes and your garden seeds. We have a lot of varieties of peppers. It's very popular. In sweet peppers, we do a yellow, a red, purple, and of course green. We do sweet bananas. We do sweet stuffing peppers. We also have plants for hot peppers, such as cayenne, Hungarian hot wax, habaneros, jalapenos, and our favorite is hot Portugal. Now we'll talk a little bit about flower gardening. We also offer various sizes for your yard. We have some 4-inch plants that are already started, which are good to get a really fast start. We sell them in the little cell packs, or if you have massive beds and you don't want to spend a lot of money, you can use a smaller plant. Plus, some of the flowers we put in the cell packs grow a little faster, so you don't need to start with something this big. We do hanging baskets. Besides hanging them on your porch, if you want your flower bed fast, you can buy a hanging basket and pop it out of the basket and stick it right in the ground, and it'll grow just fine. So we'll talk a little bit about the deer-resistant plants. I picked up some that I've tried in my yard, and I have very hungry deer. So scaevola, which is a really nice plant later in the summer, maybe doesn't look so good in the spring when you're shopping, but it's beautiful, full bloom, and the deer won't bother it. Lantana always keeps the deer away. I even at home plant lantana around my herbs in the backyard to keep the deer from getting into the herbs that they like. If the lantana's in there, they usually don't bother it. Some other deer resistant, we have some angelonia back here that they don't like very well. Other than that takes care of deer resistant that I'm sure of. Our most commonly asked question is, what can I get for color? And all I have is shade. So I can basically tell you not much. If it's dense shade, we have coleus, which are brightly colored leaves. We have caladiums, which are a little bit later planting, which are good. If you visit the Capitol grounds, you'll notice under the magnolia trees is totally caladiums. They're beautiful pinks and reds, and you'll see them and the color they provide in the shade. Full sun gardens will depend on whether you're going to be a good waterer or not. So we have lots of things to offer for full sun. And the best thing you can do when you come shopping is know where your sunlight is when it comes to your house, how many hours of sunlight you get on your beds, and let us know how well you are at watering. One of the early weather crops that you can plant, and these can go out sometimes in early March, cabbage. You can do also broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, lettuce. So those are all good. And one trick to planting cabbage, they're always kind of wobbly when they come in. You can bury the stem a little bit deeper than what it is to maybe stabilize it, and it will try to grow off some roots off that area. Cabbage varieties depends on what you want to do with it. We sell small headed varieties like early Jersey cabbage, which is very good for just a very small, very dark green cabbage that you want to maybe chop up in salad or coleslaw. If you're thinking about sauerkraut or something like that, you might want to go with something like a late flat Dutch, where the head gets really large and you can process a lot of cabbage at the same time. We are now in what's called early spring. Typically there is a potential for frost into the first week of May. You can still buy your plants in your hanging baskets and your patio pots, but if you've got them in a place where you can move them inside the garage or even up on the porch close to the house, they don't have to be inside, on a frosty night, they'll be okay. If you've already planted them in the beds outside, if you can find a sheet or buy some frost blankets, something made of cotton or just anything material to cover them with a frost. When we have a frost, do not use plastic. It'll help burn them. If you forget to cover your plants and wake up and the ground's all frosty white, one thing you can do to try to save them is go out and sprinkle cold water from the water hose on the plants. That washes the frost off because the frost burns when the sun hits the frost. So a good technique is to, if you've missed it, just go grab your water hose, try to shoot some water on them right before the sun comes up and hits them. If you cover your plants the night before, typically the frost falls early in the morning, right at dew point. So once the frost is on the plants or on the grass, it's not going to continue falling. So you should get that cover off before the sun comes out. Usually, no later than 9 o'clock in the morning, get them uncovered. If your temperatures are below 30, then that's more of a freezing situation than a frost situation. So you might have to take a little bit of extra precaution there.
Welcome to the West Virginia Department of Agriculture's Homesteading series. In this series, WVDA planning coordinators collaborate with producers around the state to share the most up-to-date information on food prep, raising livestock, self-sufficient living skills, and much more for homesteading in the Mountain State. Their goal is to help people of all skill levels increase their knowledge for sustainable living or expand their farm business. The business development staff work to grow West Virginia agribusinesses and economy. West Virginia has a vibrant ecosystem of communities, small farms, and innovative organizations that support the agricultural economy. Our team's goal is to reach out with tools and partnerships to make potential businesses aware of the services and support the West Virginia Department of Agriculture and its partners can provide. Additionally, the business development team oversees our West Virginia Grown and Veterans and Heroes to Agriculture programs. WVDA planning coordinators act as local liaisons, coordinators, and facilitators helping develop agriculture projects and assist agribusinesses around the state. They participate in economic and business development efforts while addressing food insecurities and building resiliency in local communities. West Virginia Grown is the state's premier branding program for agriculture products. The West Virginia Grown logo indicates to buyers the product was grown and/or processed with quality ingredients in the Mountain State and that their dollars are going right back into their communities. We also offer marketing opportunities for West Virginia producers through our West Virginia Grown program. This program is free, and members gain access to the West Virginia Grown brand logo for labeling use on any eligible products. If you become a member, you'll be included in our producer database, our West Virginia Grown directory, market bulletin, and social media platforms. The business development team also includes the Veterans and Heroes to Agriculture program staff. Their priority is to provide support to veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders transitioning into agriculture via education, scholarships, mentorship opportunities, marketing, technical and business development support, and navigating available resources. The program seeks to further promote the development of agricultural industries, products, and marketing opportunities across the state.